Welcome into K-State Online. I am Mason Both. That is Drew Galloway. Here we are on a Thursday. We were going to talk football today, and it's interesting football news. Not necessarily fun, but also I don't think anything that's going to wreck your world as a K-State fan. But K-State has lost their first commitment of the 2026 class in the Georgian Hannibal Navies, who flipped to Arizona yesterday. So, Drew, I'll let you take the floor and explain what happened and how this came about.
Yeah, very interesting how this kind of went about and happened. Because if you remember, Hannibal Navy's Colorado legacy actually visited Colorado over the weekend. And then a few days after being in Colorado, ends up flipping to Arizona. There was a visit to Arizona, I believe it was like that second week of October. But it's interesting just with how it all plays out because, your legacy at Colorado, you just saw everything that Colorado really has to offer on that official visit. Ends up going to Arizona instead. It's something that I think that both sides wanted to kind of get something done quickly, because talking with some folks associated with this recruitment, there was kind of talk that this might last up until signing day. And I think that both sides kind of wanted to just go ahead and, if he was going to flip, get the flip done right away. And if he was going to stay, awesome. But I think that they both wanted to, it was kind of like a, if not now, you better decide where you're going to be at, because it's going to be something where K-State didn't want to wait. And I don't think that Hannibal wanted to wait. So I think that both sides kind of just went away from each other kind of mutually in the long run here.
So probably not too many hurt feelings over it. I mean, obviously on the Hannibal Navy's end, he already has a landing spot, so I don't think he's too upset about it. He was able to find another Big 12 school and a place that is just fine. And then on K-State's end, it sounded like they wanted sure bets in this. And look, we can be honest about the situation too, and realize that there are some guys that, like with Lincoln Cure, you will be A-OK saying we don't know what's going to happen on signing day. You'll take it right up to the gun with him. There are others where 3-star defensive backs are a dime a dozen in college football recruiting. You can find these guys aplenty. K-State found some on signing day last year, like Sirius Stinyard. There was a relationship prior, but you have that there. So from the K-State side of this, where is the actual, on the scale of 1 to 10, where does this impact lie for them?
Probably like a 2 or a 2.5. I don't think that it's like a huge impact because, like you said, it's not that he is somebody that is irreplaceable or would be worth having a signing day sweat meltdown type if you were to go somewhere else. Like you said, Lincoln Kier is the exception in this rule. There are very few prospects out there that I think that everybody is okay, well, if he doesn't flip right away, we want to wait up until signing day and up until the gun for. And Lincoln Cure's one, and honestly, Hannibal Navy's probably not one of those that you are willing to wait on if you are K-State, because K-State has some needs in the secondary at safety going forward. And if there was a chance that Navy's was going to decommit on signing day and flip to either Arizona or Colorado, that leaves K-State kind of out in the cold here, where they would have to really try and figure out something either quickly in the portal or really try and turn every stone over, because they would be just kind of waiting until that February signing period. They would be really the ones that lose out here. So I think it's better for both sides, because Navy's has a landing spot, and now K-State still has a whole month to decide what they want to do in the secondary going forward. So it's more of just the impact of the loss is okay, well, now you both kind of wanted to go ahead and move forward with this. Now you got to find somebody and land them.
Yeah, and I want to make it clear to people, like, we're having these discussions and doing it in like the way that's accurate to the situation. Lincoln Cure, different deal. If Avery Johnson had done it, different deal. If Dylan Edwards had done it, different deal. But if Jace Brown, being what he was as a recruit, had done it, you're probably in a similar spot. You know,
Yeah.
if you can find guys all over where you would say, all right, we're not going to play around and say, oh, we may not get this guy, because they're looking for a target number of these guys, especially in this roster limit era, where it becomes even more important to know, okay, we're going to have just this many come from here, because you can't say, well, let's get a backup option, and if we have 5 DBs instead of 4, no big deal. Well, that changes some things, because you don't want to be in the position now of, after that first wave of we got to cut guys because of the new rules, then Chris Kleiman being in the position of having to cut guys every year, especially when, like, more times than not, when the roster is limited, you'd say, well, we'd rather have the guy that could play immediately if needed. And very rarely it's going to be the freshman. So what do? You take too many freshmen, and one shows up and says, hey, actually get out of here after spending a semester with you. Like, that's why this is done. It's not in a malicious way, and we're not talking about it in a malicious way. It's just that K-State was in a spot where, okay, like, everybody knows this by looking at recruiting rankings. Basically, you wake up out of bed, and if you've got the talent to play college football, you're a 3-star. So they can be found elsewhere. And I mean, you've written great things about Hannibal Navies. You think that he'll be good, but it's just you can't wait around.
No, you can't wait around, and it's not just like in this roster limit era that you can't wait around for. It is like in this era where I think that K-State has now gone 2 straight cycles without signing anybody in that February period. Like, you don't sign anybody in February, and if you do, like, you don't really know what to expect, because there just aren't a lot of options that of players that don't sign it in February. That's why these places that have coaches that got fired and are waiting to hire new coaches, like, it is going to be a whirlwind recruiting wise, because the season ends now November 29th. Signing day is December 3rd. So, like, it is going to be a sprint for those places. And that's why, like, if you're K-State right now, if you aren't 100% sure that somebody's going to sign with you, then it's probably better to just cut ties. And especially now, because, like I said, you have 4 weeks to find a replacement, and you still have a home game that you can host an official visitor for. And then, like you pointed out with the roster limits, it's like you can't just take another one. And then, like, if Navy's were to sign with K-State, it'd be like, okay, cool. But it's just one of those things where it is kind of just where recruiting is at in 2025. Like, it just kind of is what it is, and it's a business now, because both parties can't really get affected by what can happen in this scenario. But I don't necessarily think that it's a coincidence that there's already some safety targets emerging. Like, one of those being, I think it was on Monday, that K-State ended up offering a Hutch JUCO safety, Michael Graham Jr. Like, that's something that you kind of look at as like, was that a coincidence? Maybe not, because I think that there was a role that Navy's could play, and he could step in and have a little bit of a role in his freshman season. But you got a junior college safety, you're kind of getting that same kind of thing.
Yeah, it's I think people see it, you see a flip, you go, oh no, what's happening? Especially with K-State standing. So at this stage, I mean, do you expect anything else like this to be in the fold?
No, this was the only one that I was really kind of waiting on, was Hannibal Navy's going to end up flipping, because others have had interest from other Power 4 schools, but it kind of seems like K-State is going to squash that. And notably, like, Oliver Miller, DJ Ackerson, Tucker Ashford has been pretty vocal about he's going to sign with K-State.
Yeah. And those guys all put out Twitter posts yesterday with graphics alluding to signing day coming and ready to make it official. So, and I mean, you just mentioned in there, I mean, Oliver Miller and Tucker Ashford, to me, those are like the two guys of the class right now that you look at and say specifically, like they both, 4-star status could be in their reach, and just you want to keep those guys and to have those on the board. It's a good sign for K-State.
Yeah, and it says a lot, and I saw this on the Bosco's Boys episode that dropped today. Like, it says a lot about what K-State has done recruiting wise, that there has only been this flip, and then when Brandon Ford flipped in June to Oklahoma State, or July to Oklahoma State, like it says a lot about what they've had, that they've had 2 decommits in this cycle, and it feels like a lot, because they've just been on such a roll where, like, if somebody sign or commits to them, they end up signing.
Yeah, I forgot about Brandon Ford, which he's not still committed to Oklahoma State either, right? With the firing.
I think that he is stuck with them through the firing and is waiting to find out what happens.
Yeah, he is still locked in there. So interesting. But at least one little recruiting update, because I'm sure people saw it and thought, sky is falling. No, not necessarily the case for K-State. Seems like they kind of had a plan to execute an idea of what needed to be done, and they'll be fine. And I mean, you expect there to be a replacement DB then in this class at some point?
There will be a replacement at some point. I'm already kind of anticipating the Colorado weekend being pretty crazy visit wise, and that was before they had to replace a defensive back. So I'm expecting a handful of OVs for the Colorado game.
All right, there you go. A little look ahead. That game's still 23 days away, but it is the last chance for K-State to host recruits for a game, because that's the last home game of the year. Back-to-back road weekends for the Cats after this bye week. So K-State will get back in action next week. We'll have a full game week for that. Tomorrow we are doing a KSO Classic. Why not? The season kind of sucks. It's a bye week, so that sucks too. What are you going to do? We can't do a Bellarmine basketball preview. Nobody would care. So we'll look back at the KU game from a few weeks ago for a little KSO Instant Classic to get everybody fired up. Sound good?
Oh yeah, I'm pumped. I'm so excited about this KSO Instant Classic.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see what the level of production value is there for me.
To the point where, like, there are times, like, going forward, that it would be fun to do instant classics if a game calls for it.
Yeah, I think it's it's a good way to look back at a game, but also then in the moment, like, I think it's a nice way to kind of reflect and like pinpoint moments from a game. So yeah, like, you think about like last year, Colorado would have been a good one to do. So
like, and then, like, if basketball does something crazy and beats like Indiana or Creighton and things are kind of slower, that could be a little instant classic where we look at it through like that lens.
I think for basketball, it's more about, we may need to just use that as like a way to kind of recap and discuss the game, as opposed to like, because the highlights just don't work for it. We did it, K-State USC, and it just doesn't feel the same for basketball.
It was so fun watching that game, but it didn't feel right in the KSO Classic sense.
Yeah, it's hard to lace things together like you need.
Here's some homework for somebody. If somebody has a good like format for how to do this for basketball, let us know.
Yeah, I mean, it probably involves like just us sitting here and watching 2 minutes consecutively of a game, which I also said at the time that more of a watch along might work better for basketball because of the flow of the game. But I don't know. We'll figure it out. We'll get out of here, back again tomorrow. Hopefully I can talk better, and we'll have a good weekend after that. K-State Bellarmine on Saturday.